along with the solo support kind of compositions that a lot of teams have been kind of favoring here. But instead, it looks like, yeah, Poise is staking in for NRG. So this is going to be a difficult battle right now, though. It looks like possibly on the side of TO, they're currently not so happy with Dalton's performance, you know. So Facility will be coming in for them.
Well, there is no Stratus sighting, but Facility, I do wonder the entire dynamic there where, you know, where's the chicken and where's the egg, right? Was Facility brought in because they felt Dalton was having trouble, or is Dalton having trouble because he feels under pressure for his spot because Facility has been swapping in for him? I don't know, but we'll see if Facility can have better synergy with Nero here as we open up on this full Skya offense.
It's a full dive composition coming out for them on the opposite end. Poise is on that Widowmaker, so he's going to be careful, making sure that, you know, his flanks are checked because Nero or Facility can just jump on him at any moment now. They're taking the right-hand side, slowly closing the gap between them along with NRG.
Well, Toronto right now, they were able to get through that early opening. Facility has successfully looped his way around the back. Lands some good shots on the other side as well. Nice deflection. Poise sends a bullet into his own head there towards the very end. And Facility off of that reflect sets the stage for Toronto, and they're going to easily get onto the point. And even though Smex is fighting this back, you got 3 members down, you're not going to get res back up. This should be Toronto's point.
Yeah, Smex just goes ahead and resets there. You want to make sure, you know, you don't give anything up for free over at point B. You do not want to get snowballed on like we saw on Anubis earlier. This is NRG Esports. We're going to go ahead and swap off Poise from the Widowmaker onto the Brigitte. Now he has one job: shut down Facility when he comes in for the blade.
The hard part is, though, is that Poise has been so over aggro in his positioning that he ends up falling very early in these fights. And we see that happen where people go in Brigitte where they might not be as comfortable on it, and they end up dying as Brigitte early on. So he just needs to rein that in if he's going to swap to this hero. Meanwhile, Nero, early pulse bomb set up. Facility's blade in progress, dives to the back. Blade grabs 2. Facility striking deep here for Toronto. The Brigitte was not able to get in on him here. Poise under pressure. And I see Facility in the back line. Gonna back out. Nice awareness to get away from the incoming tide as Toronto has 1 tick here so far. About to get a second. Dash resets from Facility. He falls, but heavy damage done from Toronto as they look for that second tick.
Still though, NRG Esports will be able to deter them from pushing on in. Axiom fell earlier, and so now he is just getting back into the fight. It's Swan in the back line. He's got the Primal Rage, and he's trying to focus down this Mercy, but Toronto are kept at bay now as they back away and reset for this next fight. 5 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock as they are still knocking at the gates.
Toronto not going to waste any time at all. Diving on in. Axiom has a Primal Rage ready and immediately pops it. Doesn't even wait to take damage. Going for the disruption and just sends Poise to his doom. Meanwhile, looking for the Zen in the back. Axiom's already done enough. Gives them the man advantage. Means that they don't have to worry about the Brigitte in the back. 6v4 for Toronto as they get onto the point once more. Crackalacken, first casualty here, gonna get demeched, and now the tank line for Toronto, not so much there. NRG off of Rascal's Tracer play, starting to bring this back the other way. And Toronto, without the tanks, they can't really dominate the point.
Yeah, Shu went over to Widowmaker to try and try and come back and get some pickoffs. So they were just solo support for a while. So Shu, he will go ahead and swap back over to the Zenyatta. They just wanted a little bit more damage there to try and finish this off. Vasilia with that Soldier 76 now will have the Tactical Visor. It's a little bit more difficult to set this up. Smex has to make sure that he maintains this mech. Never mind, Facility goes ahead and swaps off. Toronto Esports really did put a lot into that last fight, and that's weird that they don't at least try to give it one go with Attack Visor.
It is a bit strange, but I mean, also maybe they just feel like the Attack Visor sightlines won't be enough. I will say that Facility so far has been a breath of fresh air. He's been much more impactful than Dalton was in the previous round, and Toronto's looked much more fearsome and coordinated as a result. NRG has been on the back foot for a lot of this year. And you take a look here, tank-wise, Swan pretty far out, eats a lot of damage, can't get away. He stayed too long. And now, with the man advantage, Nero going over. They use the self-destruct to deny a resurrection. Nero picks up 2. Poise had nowhere to go. Rob having to take matters into his own hands as anti-air, but NRG now in the hot seat. Self-destruct, buying some room, and again, it's Rascal. As fights are breaking down, Rascal's able to find room and do some work.
Yeah, and they weren't able to get that resurrection off on the point. They've been struggling to have Toronto as they lose a member, and then their push is just absolutely stopped right there. But Axiom now comes in. That's a triple kill off the Primal. That might have just done it.
Axiom just keeps stabbing on the points, keeps getting everything he wants. McCree, Brigida, doesn't matter. Toronto still in the fight, coming right back on in. NRG struggling to breathe right now as Toronto is reinvigorated. Narrow, close to a barrage. And NRG looking for anything to bring this back. They don't have any ultimates. They don't really have anything they can clutch on here. I saw Rascal, no, what have you done now? You've blown yourself up. The opportunity now going the other way. Rascal doing a lot of damage in the back line. Pulse Bomb goes out, forcing Toronto back, and Rascal has been the glue keeping NRG together here.
Yeah, play of the game was the moving platform there for NRG Esports. Gets in the way. Now we're going to see them going back over, actually some swap-offs coming out. So Toronto now go over to Nero on the Genji. Even though Facility had a great run of it when he had ran it on point A and then continuing on to point B. And Facility going over to the Hanzo. So Shimada brothers coming on in here. Rascal is going over to the Brigitte to try and offer a little bit more control, because they do need to contain Axiom right now, who is going absolute beast mode into the back line.
But now you're putting all the pressure on Poise to be your DPS carrier when he's been getting blown up in every fight. I mean, Rascal, I can get that he plays a good Brigida, but they need Rascal to hyper carry on Tracer here. This is a strange swap coming out from NRG. We'll see if Poise can stay alive here, but he's gonna get dove on immediately. Throws out the flashbang, but the dive works out. Rascal's down early on. Poise unable to do anything there versus the dive. Goes for the Deadeye, finds Cruz, so it's something, but he's forced so far back. Toronto ends up taking firm control here, and just nothing you can do as McCree there.
Cruz is out of the fight, and so they're waiting for the Mercy to get back, but they are jumping on these targets so quickly now. Toronto Esports just grasped the points. 1 minute and 51 seconds left on the clock there, Swan. He had the Primal Rage, but he just wasn't on time there. Still a really odd round coming out from both sides.
Oh, I'm beyond sugarcoating now. Yeah. I'm just gonna call it what it is. Swapping to the Brigida McCree there was stupid, given what Rascal was doing. And with how much work Rascal was doing on Tracer there, keeping it in place. With how Poise was target number 1, making Poise essentially the DPS carry, because you've now put your other DPS on the Brigida, and expecting him to suddenly reverse course when Toronto's been diving on him and getting him every fight, that's not a swap you can make.
Yeah, and despite that stumble on point B, Toronto Esports moved forward with a lot of time, but they were brought down to 1 minute and 51. It was pretty nuts to see what Axiom was doing, essentially by himself with that Winston. It seemed like every single fight, he had the Primal Rage, and that was just the sheer raw damage that he was doing into the back line continually. So now, yeah, Axiom was hovering over the Eraser for a little bit, but no, I want to see more of his Winston at this point, because there's just nothing shutting him down.
No, not at all. And I will say this, Toronto has looked much better overall with Facility in here, where just having the extra consistency of a DPS player that's getting good picks over and over again in these fights, it's opened up Narrow, it's opened up Axiom, it's given Shu way more to work with. Toronto is starting to resemble the Toronto of old with the swap here thus far.
Yeah, it definitely looks great, and especially with Facility on that Genji, he's sitting on it for the defense here. So Shimada brothers coming out from Toronto Esports. Now, NRG, they're gonna go ahead and run an Orisa Hog offense with the double sniper. So, you know, that triple prong threat once again. Foscus will speed boost them out, go over to the Mercy. We'll see who he pockets. Is he gonna favor Poise or Rascal in this offense?
We'll have to see. Oftentimes Widow will get a little bit more love as the Hanzo goes frontline, but Rascal for now, staying on the Hanzo. The Hall setting it up here early on. Facility out of the fight immediately. However, Swan falls in the moment. Toronto has a moment to go in while Tank is down, and Narrow strikes on back, finds Poise to equalize. And Toronto still with options here as they look here. Oh, Rascal, nice flank, gets Shu for free. He had no idea, but Narrow is doing much the same on the other end as Rascal is playing himself deeper and deeper in the enemy territory.
Yeah, and he's just gonna fall. Facility makes his way on back and takes him out as he was the first member to fall. Remember that halt hook? Still wasn't enough for NRG now. Toronto, and will dwindle away 1 minute of their time bank. And now, Smex, we'll see if he can get that pick off again with that halt coming up from Swan, or if Toronto are going to be a bit more cautious when it comes to that.
Meanwhile, Poise working on the left flank. The rest of his team is more up the gut, and he gets Narrow. Works out well, just needed one shot to make that happen. Narrow, though, is going to get res back up. It's not a victory for NRG just yet. And, oh, Axiom, he is going after Poise very heavily in the back. Meanwhile, the Dragon comes out, and it's a big one. Eats NRG right up. They're unable to get away, and it's a nice dive coming in from Toronto. And they are now, you take a look at 2.5 minutes away from a first point hold here in Volskaya.
And Axiom should really get a lot of the assists for that one, because with that Primal Rage, he forced a lot of the members of NRG to run into that mini health pack room, that little kind of mini garage. Somehow there are cars in there, but they don't have like the clearance to actually get in. I don't know how that works. But Axiom funnels them all in, the Dragon eats them all up. Halt, hook, deflect is there to keep them alive.
Zildy holding in the back, and he wants to build up the blade for this fight. Toronto's just going to try and rope-a-dope this and go, wait. We have a Transcends, we have a blade. Dodge a Dragon Strike. Try and get out of dodge here. And for the most part, they're going to do that. Axiom, though, is really deep, ends up falling. So here's a Dragon Strike on the other end. Narrow going to drop it on over. Another Dragon Strike for Narrow. Now I've looked at his Facility. Gonna move in, doesn't really want a Dragon Strike with the orb on him, but Poise is down. But NRG's still doing pretty well here. They're able to win the attrition war. Shoes out of the fight, Narrow's out of it, and Facility never really had the chance to bring out the blade.
They're finally able to just muscle on through, and most importantly, they have 4 ultimates online, which can be used to great effect. Right, you've got the mini grab and the halt, and so if you can get a lot of people funneled in together, Smex with a damage boost out from Bosix can quickly melt people with the whole hog here. So now they move on to point B. They've got 5 minutes and 10 seconds. They're gonna try and snowball this in, but they still have to be wary about Facility with that Dragon Blade. So Poise has now swapped off onto the Brigitte to try and deal with that.
We'll see how it works out on the attack. It definitely wasn't a great look for NRG on the defense. Cruz, though, taken down immediately. Smex continues to be a rock for NRG. And now let's make, oh, Facility's down! Rascal with the quick flick gets Facility out of it. And Smex piles on, whole hogs onto the point, and off of the work of Smex and Rascal. NRG with an excellent approach into the point here thus far. Toronto about to give it up.
They're trying their best to stall this out, but Kraken gets taken out as Rascal will finish off Cruz. Now here comes the blade.
It's gone! It's already gone! Storm Arrows taking down Facility. Rascal does not give any care about the other Shimada brother here. Big time stuff from Rascal. Puts NRG right back in the game.
4:16 left in their time bank. Everything going perfectly for them there. Rascal coming up with some huge clutch plays, takes out Facility twice as he charges forward. That brotherly love not shared between those two.
Look, I think Rascal must have met Facility at a bar last night because he had his number. That was brutal towards the end, where Facility's just like, I just want to use my Dragon Blade, and Rascal goes, nope, not happened.
And now, you know, we were afraid that without a secondary DPS to really show up, that NRG would have a rough go of it, and it looked like that was the case on NRG's first defense.
I mean, Smex was their second DPS there. Smex took matters into his own hands, and, you know, highlighting players that have been consistently good throughout the series. I think Shu has definitely been one for Toronto. But for NRG, Smex has always been good, just solid self-destructs, good diva peeling, and of course there just can turn the Roadhog on at a whim. Smex definitely a highlight for NRG in what has been a strange day here so far.
Yeah, King's Row, definitely, he was one of the foundations for NRG on both the defense and the offense. A crucial, pivotal member for their success so far. Now, if they could put a stop to Toronto Esports, they put themselves in prime position to take this victory here. So we do have Facility back on that Genji for them. We'll see if we can find an opening. It's going to come down to Nero with this, oh, it's a triple DPS lineup coming out from Toronto as Shu is now on the Widowmaker.
And Toronto doesn't have that much in the way of time here either. Facility taking a headshot here early on. Poise finds Shu. Nice pick off early, of course. Resurrection might come in here from Cruz, but Nero's down as well. Poise gets one sniper, but also two. And that's immediately going to send Toronto running for the hills, and Poise coming in big there for NRG.
Yeah, and that's okay. You know, Toronto, they took that fight loss pretty quickly. So Shu, the gamble with the Widowmaker didn't pay off. Doesn't punish them too much because really, it comes down to one team fight here when you're in that 1 minute and 40-second kind of time zone. Now, Toronto, they're going to try their best to get onto the point as quickly as possible. They need to build up this Dragon Blade for Facility. Cruz, he's the only one close to ultimate now. He's got that Valkyrie ready, but it's going to be Rascal that might just shut it down. He's got the pulse bomb ready.
Poise almost put himself into the abyss there. That was real scary. Rascal, though, is out, which means that Poise must hard carry this if Rascal's not brought back up. Poise looking for tank damage right now. Unable to land the headshot on the Diva. Right now, Crackalacken just whipping or swapping back and forth on the defensive matrix. Smex gets 2, though, keeping them in it. Facility, the other side, got robbed. Toronto looking for a way in, but it's Smex!
Oh, they slowed down too much.
Smex and Swan keep NRG in the fight. That should be enough for NRG.
Yeah, here comes the blade from Facility now, but who's he going to be able to get? He gets robbed down, and now he's trying to get onto the mech here. He's getting focused down. He decks 2.
Okay, Facility. Now he's going to the moon. See ya.
See ya, Space Ninja.
You can actually see him like in the distance there, but it created an opportunity here as respawns come back in. It's not the greatest opportunity for Toronto. They'd still like a little bit more. They get Cruz off the point, but Crackalacken's going to come back in. So NRG bit against the wall, but it's Swan who's been able to primal rage into the back. Found Shu there, and right now NRG, even though they're trying to find a way back in, it's very back and forth both sides. Toronto coming back on the other way. Cruz on a Lucio of all things. It's battle Lucio, but NRG still has more at the point.
Yeah, there are 3 members of Toronto here, and they're trying their best to keep it alive, but Cruz has now fallen. There's no more support. They get off the point. No ticks taken by Toronto. NRG are in the complete driver's seat here. 1/3. That's all they need on point A, and they have 4 minutes and 16 seconds to do it.
Should be an NRG victory here. The defense there was much better. Is probably the best Poise has looked all night by winning sniper battle after sniper battle, but again, to me, the hero for NRG, it's Smex. Smex has been playing out of his mind, also with an assist to Swan, where, it's very similar here, where it's a tale of 2 NRGs, right? When they run this Rascal Poise setup all in all, it feels like it's the tanks that have to keep them in it, whereas when they run the setup they're more known for here this season, they're just much more dominant.
Double Shamadas for Toronto Esports. What's interesting right now is that currently Swan is on the Sombra. Now, I don't think he's going to stick to it, but a lot of teams have been taking to, just using the Sombra to get some information. Never mind, whatever. I don't even know why I talk about it.
I mean, Smex just wanted to make you look bad. It's the only reason. He's not only fighting Toronto, he's fighting us as well.
This is interesting, though.
Challenge accepted, Smex.
This is interesting, though, because on their initial offense, they went with the they went with the Orisa along with the Roadhog. There we go. Swan is going over to the Orisa. Now, we'll see if Smex swaps off. Now, Rascal. Is he going to make a Rascal at me? He steps outside. It looks like he's just going to get information. This is what I'm talking about. Just the information play coming out from the DPS. So, yeah, he spots out some of the compositions, and now he's going to make his swap. He goes over to that Tracer Poise on the Widowmaker now. I'm
totally okay with Rascal and Tracer.
Yeah.
He was playing out his mind on the defense. I believe that with 4 minutes left on the clock, you'll find an opportunity. Meanwhile, Poise, playing with fire, looking for the Genji, almost deflected back into his face. Takes the hook shot. Ends up getting an arrow to the gut. He's getting supported here as Rascal runs afoul of Shu. Shu pretty deadly as a Zen, and 2 early kills here for Toronto. Going to be sending NRG back. Yeah,
Shu's deadly. Also, he had the pocket of Cruz there. There really wasn't much for Rascal to do. Facility with the anti-air combo. Just dashing around as a cybernetic ninja. Still, that was only a minute taken away from the clock of NRG, so they have plenty of time to set up this win, right? But it's going to be a lot of things standing in their way. Facility, of course, is on this Genji, and his blades have been quite deadly thus far for Toronto Esports. So NRG, they might just have to weather a storm and try and go for a dry run, try to force out ultimates in the next 2 team fights.
As a caveat, they've been deadly when Rascal has not been on Hanzo, but good for him. He's on Hanzo right now. And Rascal that time gonna take down Shu. Cruz immediately going over for the res, but Facility's down on the other end. NRG has done quite a bit of damage here so far. Rascal, he's looking to pile on the last little bit of pressure here, looking for Cruz on the other side, gets the DMEC Pulse Bomb ready. NRG easily cleaning up. They are well on their way to take Volskaya. Let's get him the series. Cruz gets a DPS moment in. A little bit of embarrassment for Poise at the very end, but it doesn't matter. NRG, 3-0, winning the series here on Volskaya, but we still got one more map to go.
Right. Well, it seemed like that was a totally different game of Overwatch from both teams. Like, yes, Facility coming in was a different Toronto, but my God, Rascal seemed to wake up, and so did Poise, and Smex was going crazy. It was just all good stuff.
Poise had more good moments there. I would still take issue with the NRG second defense, where Rascal was doing so well on the Tracer, and then they just go, Rascal, you Brigitte, Poise, McCree. It's just like, that's not going to work.
Let's pretend that didn't happen. Okay. Let's not talk about that moment. That never went down.
Other than that point, yes, both teams looked better. Facility was a breath of fresh air coming in for Toronto, to be sure. And, I mean, Poise on the foul defense definitely came in big.
Yeah, there was an instant turnaround. And Facility, he's known for his Genji, and he instantly proved why they're coming in for them. There were some clutch blades. It just wasn't enough because ultimately, you know, the duo of Smex and Rascal just kind of took over this game, especially Rascal going back to that Tracer. I love his Tracers, and he really proved his worth with it.
Yeah. And also the Hanzo play towards the end where it's just Rascal was shutting down Facility over and over again. Facility's like, can I blade now? Rascal goes, no, never.
No, you cannot. The Battle of the Esports turned into the Battle of the Shamadas at the end there. It was pretty amazing to see. But as we did point out, Facility coming onto Toronto kind of, it was just like an oxygen tank just slammed some life into this team, and it was quite incredible to watch.
Yeah, I mean, landing good shurikens there. Poise takes a shot he probably shouldn't have taken. But off of this from Facility, the distraction, the damage, the pickoff, suddenly see Toronto come in, it's like, oh yeah, we can easily take this point. And this is ridiculous, where I'm not sure he should have bladed here, but it still made it work, where you have all of NRG around him, and he still ends up with 2.
Yeah, despite that blade, though, there was a lack of tempo and urgency coming out from Toronto Esports to really try to capitalize off of that. And I feel like they just lost a lot of initiative, and they just lost a lot of their focus coming into that second point A offense. The tempo was just absolutely wrong coming out there. I don't understand what's going on right now with the Toronto squad.
But do you think that if they started off with Facility in the lineup, this could be a totally different game we're looking at?
Oh, absolutely. I think he would have had a higher contribution than what we saw from Dalton, where Dalton was struggling earlier in the series. And also, I mean, one thing our credit is due is that even though Toronto looked way better, NRG had just a ridiculous shout-out performance coming in from Smex, where Smex was playing out of his mind on this map in multiple different points to keep NRG in fights that they otherwise would have lost.
And then also, on the opposite end, I'm surprised that, you know, that Toronto weren't able to get a better time, especially with the performance that, Axiom was putting on with that Winston. Every single time they tried to attack point B, he had a Primal Rage. He would come up with at least two, but would probably end up with about 3 kills there, and nothing came of it.
It's really the lack of taking the opportunity and grasping it and making something out of it that was really faulting Toronto. I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah, but at the very least, I mean, to the overall general point, both teams did look better here. There was more of a general ebb and flow to the game that made more sense. And now I'm just curious, like, what we're going to see in Map 4, where, yes, NRG has taken the series, but, you know, it's still possible to finish things off strong from both teams.
And ultimately, you know, this is also just a lot of great tape for Poise to actually put down for himself. Now they can really look at his performance in a live environment, right, where things matter. I'm surprised that they put him in so early. You know, we saw him coming in, I believe it was map 3, and they needed to secure that win. Somehow they did. So, you know, taking that risk, it paid off. They weren't punished for it, and now they get to continue to play him and get more experience on the belt for him.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I'm curious for NRG, where now I'm just like assuming that the norm is Stratus not being in, but Stratus, do you live? Can you find a computer and get back into the game?
DM us, let us know you're safe.
Blink twice if you're alive.
I don't know if we can see you blink, but we'll find a way.
Right, well, now we're moving on to Gibraltar, so who knows what can happen. Hopefully we'll see more cohesion. Hopefully now the Facility's in for Toronto, we'll see. I see you grimacing over there, Jamerson. What are your thoughts?
No, I do really like seeing Facility back into the roster. I like seeing him play here in NA, and, you know, he has already been proving his name. I remember speaking to him last year in Poland, and he was just like, I want to be a pro player, and, you know, path to pro, he is making it happen. So this has been great. This has been a great journey so far.
Absolutely, and we can only hope that we will see more amazing team plays and more amazing communication, and maybe even some redeeming ults, because for some reason I feel like that's the last map that we've been hitting some redeeming ults whenever it's going to this last map.
Let's get another Gibraltar.
Yeah.
Although it comes to that, the tank side things, I think it's been pretty good for both teams. So it's more so, you know, let's see some DPS redemption here, and yep, Stratus might be gone. I don't know what's happened to Stratus, but this is going to be a full day without Stratus in for the NRG side. Instead, for Toronto, it will be Dalton coming back in, so I guess they're going to give Dalton another run here, but Facility was definitely stronger from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? He's also got that extra hero in his pool where he can pull out the Genji, and he does a great job of it. Quick tempo push coming out from Toronto as they're trying to eject them from the high ground. But yeah, I don't know if Dalton can really pull out the Genji and offer that kind of utility for his team.
By the way, Bastion.
Oh.
Just here.
You're right.
Bastion. This feels, anytime NRG gets cute like this, it usually blows up in their face, but I'm willing to be optimistic because it's Bastion. Let's see what they got.
Now, they are holding on to the high ground. The Holt is used there, but nothing coming of it. Bastion. Actually, I do like this look, right? You hold the high ground. It's so difficult to try and take him out, especially with how Nero is playing the Brigitte. The only person that can try and pressure that shield for the Orisa is Dalton, and the Widowmaker doesn't do that well, so Rascal just sits up here, and he's able to mow them down. He's getting some good damage off. Crack-a-lack, and why?
But it's because there's a cover for Axiom going in, but Axiom also gets melted down, so the Bastion strategy actually works out. NRG able to make this early gambit work out because they just melt down the tanks, and Toronto, the key with that is you have to have both in at the exact same time. There was a bit of a desync between Axiom and Crack-a-lack in there.
Yeah. Axiom was trailing behind Crack-a-lack, and you got to remember, defense matrix is it's a cone in front of you, so Axiom has that space to work with. He should have been the first one to lead. He should have been on top of Rascal before Crack-a-lack had ever got demeched there. Now, NRG, this is entering scary territory because we're going to have a Nano Bastion soon. Fozix is sitting at 83% with that Ana.
Not soon enough. He's not Nano Bastion yet, and thus I am not sated. I do want to see this happen. Fozix 86%, Rascal 83, so could be a bouncing tank here for NRG.
We were joking earlier on during rehearsals about being able to do a broadcast in Bastion's voice, and now we might actually have to, as Rascal is getting close to that configuration tank. Toronto Esports, Nero swapped off onto the Genji, so now they're going to try and go for a deeper dive on top of this Bastion, but now you gotta be careful. He goes in, he uses the deflect, and that's gonna be enough.
Down. Yeah, that was a very nice dive. Nero following through, but they won't have the nano boost. They might be able to res Rascal back up here. No, they're not gonna do that because they're not running at Mercy. I'm losing my mind. NRG though, with poise, able to fight this back the other way. And as a result, it's not quite the dive that Toronto was hoping for, even though it did deal with Rascal early on.
But again, you know, you just put all your eggs in one basket, or I guess throw all your eggs at one Bastion, and then they got melted, right? Everyone else just backs away. They use all of their cooldowns just to get on top of him and take him down, and then from there, the teamfight devolves, and NRG are able to take advantage of the lull, of the weakness left in Toronto Esports. They're going to try and do it again as Rascal is set up on the high ground once again.
Yeah, this is just running into a nano boost. They're going to dive in. It's going to be nano boost on Rascal. They have the Dragon to help it out, but Dragon, even as it gets two, here's Rascal beat booping his way over. Nano boosted Bastion. Doesn't quite get the opening he was expecting as Toronto, mostly unfazed, got the better of the engagement early on. Nero coming back to the fray. This is looking like it's going to be point A, hand the way of Toronto. Bastion is dead, and this should be a swap, and it is. Rascal gonna go to the Brigitte, but again, this puts so much pressure on poise. I don't know if this is the best look for NRG.
They're even forcing out some ultimates, so the stagger is really starting to pay off for NRG Esports right now. Axiom does get the DMEC onto Smex, but here we go. Nero now with the blade is able to get on top of Smex, takes him out, even through the Transcendence there. Another Dragon Strike comes out from Dalton. NRG are doing such a good job of delaying this out.
Yeah, they've been down numbers the entire time, but they're getting enough pickoffs to work a respawn advantage, get back here to the point. Toronto, of course, needs to stay in the point. And by the way, Swan is still alive. No one is actually dealing with Swan on the other end. He's healed back up. NRG is actually fighting back. Rascal being his own for a DPS here in the Brigitte, regulating the point. Rascal with 4 kills on the point. No one dealing with Brigitte. He ends up getting protected, and NRG's gambit pays off as Rascal goes, just because I'm a support doesn't mean I'm on DPS. First point hold here for NRG.
I am speechless there.
That really should have been Toronto's point.
That should have been Toronto's point. They had everything going for them. They were picking off, they were getting some really good pickoffs as they were trying to come in and contest, but somehow NRG are able to just muscle on through. no one able to kill Swan. I guess the Fortify was too much to deal with him. There was a moment where Crackalacken got a little bit too over-aggressive, and I believe it was Rascal, right, who had swapped off onto the Brigitte, had punished him, got the D-Mech, and then from there, if you lose one component of your tank line, things kind of just like fall like dominoes, but still, Toronto Esports have to be keeping themselves for that now. NRG Esports looking to get that clean 4-0 up against Toronto Esports. They might do it off the back of Quad Tank.
Clean in the box score, if nothing else,
yeah.
I would say. It's been a weird series so far. Lots of ups and downs, but the one thing that has been consistently up is NRG getting the W at the end of the map. And of course, pushing this here, they don't have to push it all that far. It's not even the full entirety of point A, just a little bit before. And NRG, of course, will go away with that 4-0 victory. Toronto on the defense going to run a more old school style dive defense with solo support. Shu on the Widowmaker, and it's actually, people tend to forget this, but Shu can play a very competent Widow. I don't know if it's the best look for him here, but I mean, Shu's been doing so much, maybe feels like if only I DPS as well,
yeah,
then we will see the light.
Toronto, you know, they spoke of it highly while we were in Poland for Contenders Season 1, the live finals. And Shu did actually run that quite often, where he would go over to the Widowmaker, and it was quite successful. But now, he's going to have to do it in the face of Quad Tank. It's going to be very difficult to try to kill anyone here, as really the prime targets are Rob Dab and Fozix, who are the squishiest members. NRG Esports, they are just meat sponges. They can just take up all this damage.
You notice that we don't really say the dab of Rob Dab too much. We usually just say Rob, and then anytime I say it or you say it, just feels a little bit weird. But for now, the dive coming in from NRG, going to the top, forcing Toronto back, and Toronto just, they don't even feel interested in taking that. They're just gonna back up to the last area. But it does mean that they have no margin for error.
Yeah. Toronto Esports, they got to get active soon, and it looks like it's going to be NRG that try to force the issue with that hook, but they're able to cover it with a Diva Defense Matrix. Genji Nero jumping on in, but right into the face of Winston. You got to be careful. Hook onto Cruz, and he goes down.
Cruz, all the CC on him. I think he just ripped off his headset. I know how Cruz is when stuff like that happens, but NRG, nice coordination for that early pickoff. Axiom nowhere to go in the back. Toronto falling like dominoes right now, and NRG only needs a little bit more to push this one in. Toronto looking a bit broken here, as NRG is going to easily bring this one to victory.
Did I like have a hallucination, or did we watch Bastion play and succeed?
We did watch Bastion play and succeed, and then they did take down the Bastion, and then even with an overwhelming advantage, Rascal just comes down Brigitte and destroys everyone.
I mean, but Rascal was Bastion for most of that fight. That was...
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. And the thing is, like, that is actually a great spot for it, because you know how the dive comes. It's very... it's pretty straightforward.
There's only one word to go,
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why he's able to melt them during the dive in. So you need to be pretty precise when you go for the dive. The first one, it didn't work out. We saw, right, Crackalacken immediately getting melted down, and then Axiom right afterwards. The Genji swap off was the right play, but at that point, you know, they were able to kite back with everyone else and then take advantage of the overextension.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'd say here, too, is that I think running something like Bastion isn't bad against Toronto, where they've now just changed their off-tank. I don't think Axiom and Crackalacken are entirely on the same page, and you kind of have to be on the same page if you're going to evict a Bastion. It's easy to take for granted because teams were running really good dive for a very long time, and you had sort of a good period of time to build up the synergy between your Winston and your Diva. I don't think it's quite there yet for Toronto, and that like small difference in timing can mean so much when you're trying to evict a Bastion from a point.
Absolutely. It seems like such a weird strategy, but a weird strategy that worked, especially knowing against who they were fighting. I was just, what next? Are we going to see a Torbjorn May comp that's going to surprisingly win? Now I want that.
If it happens, I mean, it's all on your head now. It is on your head.
It's your fault.
I have nothing to do with this, all right?
Jamerson is like, I wash my hands
clean
of this. I don't want to see this.
Well, speaking of washing clean and improving for the next week, I think both of these teams really do need to look at their play and go to spots that need improvement, because I think if they're up against any of the other major teams in this group, things would not go well with them if they played the way they're playing today, because it was a rough series on both ends. And yes, NRG was ahead when the dust had settled, but both teams have a lot to work on after today, I feel like. But hey, it's middle of the season, still plenty of time.
Right, and maybe on the positive side, the fact that it was kind of rough and tumble for both of them means that they can work out their kinks together rather than get completely pummeled.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for NRG, they ran Poise the entire time. I believe that's probably the most map time he's had, or at least doubled his map time so far over the course of 2 Contender seasons now. So it's valuable experience for him. He did have some moments where he shined, but for the most part, he was very silent. He was having a lot of difficulty actually converting his damage into eliminations. Is a really big problem there. So I think that's where one point that they can really try to improve moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And what's another point on the other team side that they can really, I know there's a lot that we can pinpoint and focus, maybe slide them a little bit of help.
I mean, I would say is that Nero and Dalton have to reclaim their magic.
Yeah.
They were the wonder duo of Contender Season 1, where Toronto, they were able to beat teams like Gladiators Legion. And how'd they do it? Dalton and Nero were an amazing tag team, and they don't really operate like a team right now. They seem very much out of sync. It's been a much more difficult season here for Dalton. So, I mean, Toronto's main identity has kind of been shattered for what they usually run, and I don't know what the fix is aside from Nero and Dalton have some good heart-to-hearts.
Yeah, it might have just been an off week for Nero and Dalton as that DPS duo, but unfortunately, in the format that we have, 5 weeks of play, you can't have an off week, and so this might punish Toronto a lot as we move forward in the next 2 weeks.
All right, well, after all of that shaky Overwatch, we have just seen a 4-0 in the series, but we have so much more Overwatch action coming up next. Sky Foxes are going up against XL2 Academy in our final match of the day, so you're not going to want to miss it. So many more hand gestures coming at you after a break.